I'm Ole Moss from Copper Cactus, and today we're going to make two keychains. The first keychain we're going to make using hand tooling, and the second one we're going to use a laser. We're going to use the same leather for both projects. This is a Craftsman grade veg tan leather, 5 to 6 ounce, and Tandy has cut them into nice little squares for us. For the tooled leather, we're going to case the leather, which means we're going to submerge it into water, let it sit overnight with a piece of glass or something that's non-porous on top and bottom of it to keep that water in there and make sure the water wicks throughout the piece evenly, and then we'll tool it. Start out here by tracing the image that we printed off. We just printed off an 8.5 by 11 paper, 100% scale. That makes sure that it is perfect for you. And then I go in with the carving knife. First thing, go around the inside border here, and then I just start on the B and start kind of carving away, trying to get all that right. Get everything carved into the leather. Generally going for the big basic shapes first, and then honing in on some details. Okay, now we need to add our stamps, so we just start stamping in this honeycomb stamp that I got from Tandy. Perfect stamp, and then there's a little flower in there too. And you can see on this version I did put the flower crooked, so whoops. But then all you got to do is take a knife, cut it out. You can take this corner cutter from Tandy and just cut the corners so you get nice, perfect, round corners every single time. It is like a dream come true. And then just take your knife again and trim from corner to corner. Easy peasy. And then I just use the corner thing on the end. It's not really the right tool for the job, but it gets it pretty dang close. You can see that's not bad. And then probably wait to cut these holes until it's dry. I cut it while it was too wet, and that was a bad idea. And this is what it looks like when it's dry. This is my very first time tooling any kind of leather. You can see what we can do with some basic hand tools. We can still get something that is cool to us, and maybe it's cool to you. Maybe you can make something you're proud of. It's just a simple little keychain. So small projects like this let you iterate very quickly and learn. This is my third attempt at this. We will keep going and we'll keep trying, but let's forge through with this project all the way to completion, and we'll see how it looks in the end. For this next part of the keychain, we're going to take a little bit of sandpaper, smooth off the edges, smooth off some of these corners that we've got that are a little bit sharp, and we're just going to kind of get it ready for the next step. Okay, now we've sanded the edges and made it a little bit nicer for the next step. And we're just going to fold this down, basically paper towel, rag in a box. You want to make sure that that dye gets down into all of the cracks and crevices that we've made while tooling and stamping, so that those parts really show up well. And as you can see, they're going to get a little bit darker, which is what we want. And then we can kind of wipe off the excess from the rest of it. And now we'll do the back side too to make sure that it's all dyed the same color. For this, we're going to add a little bit of this gel antique to darken in some of the spots where we have done some tooling and done some stamping. We're going to just make that a little bit darker with our antique gel. We're just going to take this and we're just going to rub it in all the places. Kind of rub it all over. It'll get into those cracks and crevices where we want it here, deep down, kind of daub it in there. And then we will go back and grab this extra that we had on this rag, and we'll dab that in too to make sure that, just make sure it gets in all the places here. And then come in with a clean rag and just wipe it out. That's looking pretty good. You can see we got some of that detail back in that bumblebee and other places. Now we need to protect this keychain, so we want to take it over and we're going to saddle lack it. Okay, the next step that we need to do on this key fob that we tooled is we need to burnish the edges. You can see our edges are not great. We're going to use a little bit of token oil, and I've put that in one of these little needle injectors right here, or needle vessels, so we can accurately put it on very easily and not so messy. And then we just have an old-fashioned wood slicker. You just want to go until you feel it start getting sticky. You can start to feel it kind of catch, Just like that, that's what our edge is gonna look like. That's a nice edge right there. Now we're gonna go ahead and do the rest of it. I'm gonna show you two different ways to set the double cap rivets. The first way is gonna be with an anvil and a setter and a hammer. And the second way is gonna be using a rivet press. These are double cap rivets. You can see one is a stud with a cap and the other one is just the cap, and they click into each other. And then we have a nice big key ring. I like these bigger size key rings. Some people just use the 1-inch ones. These are the 1.25 inch. Take your key fob and then grab the rivet with the stud on it and place that through here. Turn this over, and then you're gonna place your key ring on here. Fold this over so your holes line up and that rivet goes through to the other side, just like that. And then you're gonna take your cap and place the cap on there, and you'll feel it click together. Sometimes you can even hear it click together. On that one we couldn't hear it, but we could feel it. So you see this smallest hole fits this rivet nicely, so it sets down in there. I like to take my front side and place that against the anvil, and then take my setter, which also has an indent right there that fits the rivet. And then we're just gonna try to keep this as vertical as possible, and we're just gonna tap this a few times to get that to set down in there, and there we go. Okay, that is our hand-tooled B key fob. That's what it looks like when we're all done. We chose the brass hardware because it has that nice yellow look that looks like, you know, honey. So we're trying to go for kind of an overall bee theme here. So that's why we chose our colors of our hardware and our leather, our dyes, everything. So it kind of lends it all to that same theme. For the laser, what we're gonna do is we're going to start out by dyeing it. We're gonna use this EcoFlow yellow to dye the leather. After we dye the leather, we're gonna use Saddle-Lac to clear coat the leather, and that's gonna seal in the dye and make it ready for laser engraving. To dye the leather, we're gonna need a few things. First of all, wear some gloves. The EcoFlow leather dye, I like to use a foam brush, and then just some kind of bucket or tray or something to put the dye in. We're gonna use this old Tupperware. And then we wanna put this on here evenly. And try not to get any streaking. This dye is a little bit streaky now, but it'll be a lot less streaky when it's dry. Thanks to the magic of video, it's now the next day. This has dried completely and it is evened out quite a bit, and it's a substantially different color than what it came out of the bottle as, but we knew it was gonna lighten up. We knew it was gonna be a nice bright yellow like this. So now we need to Saddle-Lac it and let that dry before we put it in the laser. For spraying Saddle-Lac, we want good ventilation. You don't wanna breathe this stuff. So we're gonna have a respirator, and my paint booth vents to the outside. You're gonna want even strokes with 50% overlap. Here's the piece that we dyed and then Saddle-Lac'd, and now you can see if we glisten it in the light there, we got a nice even coat on that Saddle-Lac. It is perfect. So now it's time to pop this in the laser, and we will engrave and cut the key fob with the laser. The program that we're gonna use to talk to the laser is called Lightburn. We're gonna load our artwork on here like we have here, and we're gonna set all of our settings. I use presets, so it's super easy. So now it's all set up, ready to rock and roll. We wanna make sure that it is ready to engrave first and then cut second. Here's our piece of leather here, and you can see it kind of curls up just a little bit. So we wanna bend that backwards. We want it to sit as flat as possible in the laser. So we want it so it sits nice and flat, which this is going to. And then we wanna tie it down so it doesn't move while we're cutting or engraving. So we use magnets, and we'll just place these magnets around the perimeter just as like kind of a clamp so it doesn't move. Make sure that your laser is focused. So we're gonna go over here, use our manual focus right in the middle. Now it's perfectly focused. We're gonna take a picture using the camera above, and it's gonna take a picture of our work area. We can position that key fob on here using that camera, and then we'll go. You can hit Alt-C on your keyboard, and that will bring up the photo. So now you can see that is our yellow square of leather that's in the laser, and we just want to pick a corner here, make sure that it's good, it's not going to touch one of the magnets, and it's not going to go off the edge, and then we will frame it. And now that we've framed it, we know it's not going to hit the magnet, it's not going to go off the edge, So now we're ready to engrave and then cut. We'll shut the lid for safety. Okay, now I'm just gonna hit start in Lightburn and you're gonna hear the solenoid open up and the air assist is gonna kick on. I use air assist while I'm engraving, but especially while I'm cutting. It's very important. Okay, now just like that, only a few minutes, and it has engraved and cut. So this is what it looks like straight out of the laser. It's got a ton of soot on it and it needs to be cleaned off. So we're gonna do two things in one step. We're gonna clean it and then we're gonna do a final protectant with it. And that is gonna be with this leather balm. Phoebing's leather balm, you can pick this up with Tandy as well. We're gonna take our Phoebing's leather balm and put it on this little rag and then wipe this down. It will clean off the soot as well as protect the piece. Just do a little bit more. You don't want to press down into the engraving. You will wipe away some of the engraving. And we want to come with a clean, dry rag and wipe off any excess. Okay, just like when we were hand setting, we're going to take our rivet with the stud and place that through there. Turn this over, place the key ring on there, and then fold that over. And you might have to work it a little bit. This is pretty thick leather. It's really nice and heavy duty. And then snap that. You heard that snap that time. That was a nice firm click. This is really easy. Once you get it dialed in and set up perfect for you, it works perfect every single time. So you'll set this in there and then just give it a little press. Okay, just like that, we've got another keychain. And here are the two keychains together. This is our final product.